Hello and welcome to another Board Crazy review. Today we are of course talking about Everdell. I am D. I am joined by my permanent two companions.
Permanent?
Oh yeah.
Since when is this permanent?
Well,
I'm Graham.
It's legally binding. Yeah, and D got it notarized, so
Oh, jeez.
it's literally.
I went to town scribe and they got it done for me.
Nice.
And I'm Will, the town scribe. I did it. All right, there might be some collusion here, but
Who could say? Before we get started with our review, as is our format so far, we're going to be running my little intro bit of Everdell from our gameplay video, which you can, of course, also check out if you would like. Or you can just skip ahead to us talking again. So take it away, D. Everdell is a game for 1 to 4 players, designed by James A. Wilson and published by Starling Games. In Everdell, your goal is to earn the most points from your newly constructed city. The city is comprised of cards, which represent both buildings and inhabitants, and each card comes with its own special ability. The game is played over 4 rounds, 1 for each season, with the first round taking place in late winter. The board is set up with 4 randomly drawn special event cards and 4 randomly drawn forest cards, which give the players extra places to place their workers throughout the game. 8 critter and construction cards are placed face up in the meadow and are available to all players. Each player gets 2 of their own workers and also 5 to 8 construction and critter cards of their own, depending on where they fall in the player order. Players may take just 1 action per turn, and there are 3 possible actions that a player may take. Either place a worker, play a card, or prepare for season. When placing a worker, they may do so anywhere where there is a paw print symbol. These symbols are surrounded by rings that are either open or closed, indicating whether multiple workers can be placed there or just 1. Whenever a worker has been placed on the board, it remains in place until a player takes the prepare for season action. In order to play a card to their city, a player must first pay the required resources listed on the card. The card may come either from their own personal hand or from the meadow. Cards come in one of 2 types, either unique or common. A player may not have more than 1 copy of a unique type card in their city, but there is no such restriction on common cards. The prepare for season action allows players to return the workers they've placed on the board. In addition to this, they will gain new workers and also are allowed to take a certain special action depending on which season is being entered. The game ends once all players have finished taking all of their actions during autumn. Then scoring occurs, with players adding up all the points they've earned from their cards, scoring tokens, events they've completed, and so on. And of course, the player who has earned the most points is deemed the winner. Wow, that was perfect, I think. You guys agree, right?
All right, where's the bat?
there's a hammer over there.
Anyway, Everdell.
Yeah,
This is a game we played. We have some thoughts on it.
I have no thoughts.
You played this game?
We did.
Now, there's one thing I think that we all agree on. It's that the way that the cities grow is really cool.
But mainly it's the cards that are...
Well, the cards are how you grow the city. Yes, that's what I mean.
The city itself growing, yeah, sure, you just place cards. But yeah, it's the cards that are
The
fun.
way they interact
Yes.
and like work off of each other. And again, it's very much like you're forming like a little machine that has components and they sort of work in unison. And
yeah, it's the bulk of the game. It's done really well. It's very well designed and it absolutely feels like a puzzle as you're putting it together.
Mm-hmm.
You have the options that you can choose from, and the main what is it? The community.
The meadow.
The meadow. That's the word I'm looking for. So I think it's a good balance of what you can use in your hands and the meadow to try and make it work. It's fun.
It's nice that you can draw from the meadow at any time and build what's there instead of what's in your hand. That gives you a lot of variability.
Yeah. And at first it's a little bit intimidating because you're looking at all these different cards. You don't really know how they interact. But as the game goes on and you get more comfortable with it and you have more playthroughs of the game, it
makes sense. Yeah, it might seem a little. Yeah, exactly. It seems a little daunting at first, but really, I don't think there's a huge learning curve if you have the patience to learn it.
Yeah, and I found myself tempted to build buildings, really, first, because the more more constructions you have, the easier it is to build critters. Usually, because if you have the right construction, you can build a critter for free.
Well, not for free, but it's mostly for free. Yeah.
How's it not for free?
Well, you place a little thing down on your thing, so it's only a one-time use.
Yeah, but for one time, you could build a critter for free, and that's very helpful. And honestly, I think the strategy most of the time to play. You can definitely stock up on berries and just sort of. I mean, you might have to, given the luck of the draw with your hand, but
I like how it. I don't know. It feels very organic, like an actual like a city is being assembled. Like you start with humble beginnings, only got the 2 workers, no money.
Yeah.
And then, as the game progresses, it just accumulates as things start to fall in place.
Yeah, it all compounds. You have that compounding effect at the end of it.
If you build they will come. Should be the motto of this game.
I think that might be taken. But yeah, there's a real sense of like production.
Yeah.
I think it's really neat.
No, that was it's definitely the strongest part of the game. It's really well done. And
you could see how a theme could be tacked onto this game, but thematically it makes sense, If the city is just starting, you don't need that many workers. And at first, that's kind of frustrating. You're like, I want to do so many things.
Yeah, this is one game where, you read it in the rule book before you play it, and you're like, how is this going to work? 2 workers on the first turn? You're not going to get anything done. Then you realize as you play the game, really, it's the cards that are, the bulk of your action. Like, your workers are almost a supplement, just to kind of, get you started. And then once you got the resources, or, the cards set up that bring in resources, it's less of an issue. As far as building an effective town, it definitely requires a lot of thought.
yeah.
I would say there's no question about that. Will, I think you've proven that.
I didn't think at all in the video. I was really decisive and quick with my actions.
Yeah, that's how the edit works. He's
Yeah, absolutely. I know, and I know we were definitely ragging on Will in the video about taking his time, but we were all doing it, and it's just part of the game.
You were doing it during my turns.
I guess so.
No, maybe towards the end, you guys were. You even said it at one point. You're like, well, at least Will's long turns means that we can think and prepare ours in the meantime.
Yeah, but it's kind of I think that has to do with the fact that every move in this game is really important. It's almost too important. Almost every move you have is critical, and it makes you want to think
I think that's
everything.
the question: is this game? Does it require? Is it too much?
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at.
I don't know if I would go that far.
Yeah,
but there's definitely gonna be a lot of downtime if you're the sort of person who's really impatient when it comes to that.
I wouldn't tell someone not to play this game because there's analysis paralysis. I mean, you're gonna take your time to think, but it's so satisfying when you get it right, and it's pretty soul crushing when you get it wrong too. But I mean, at the end of the day, that's why some people play these kind of games is they want to sit and stretch. But that is a big element of this game.
Yeah, this is not a light game. It's
I would say it's a heavy midweight game. Even a mid-heft midweight game. I don't know. That's very specific. But
you're getting a little
It's not heavy. Though.
It's a middle, lightweight, heavy, mixed with some light element.
But more importantly, it's not a short game. How long did our recording? How much footage do we have?
Well, the listed time for this game is 40 to 80 minutes.
Yeah.
I think when we were done, it took us without scoring, it was probably an hour and 50 minutes or so to play through the whole thing.
It's gonna be about 2 hours.
I would say though that the more you play this, the quicker it'll get.
I guess.
I remember our first playthrough was longer than 2 hours.
Our first playthrough, there were some interruptions, but...
Yeah, you have to, read everything.
So in terms of, getting the cards you want, how do you guys feel about the luck factor in this game? I mean, it's definitely present.
Yeah, I think it depends on what side of the luck you're on. It may not may not seem so obvious when you're getting the cards you want. You think, oh, yeah, this game is... but if you're sitting there and you're really, waiting for a certain card to come up, that's really going to tie your board together or whatever.
Color.
It feels like it can be a little bit there. Or if if a card comes up for someone else that's really important for them, it's like, oh man,
that section when you prepare for summer and you can draw 2 meadow cards. That's always real nerve-wracking. When someone goes ahead of you, I need that. Don't you dare take that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I think, on the other side, I think there is so much variety in the deck, and there are so many different things you can do that you can sort of mitigate the bad luck to some degree. Generally, there's going to be something slightly productive you can do to sort of help your city along. It might even, end up working out in your favor down the road.
Luck almost isn't it seems annoying early with luck because you have fewer workers to work with, but I'd say early on it's really easy to be like, okay, this is what's out there. I'm going to adapt my strategy to that. I think later on though, once your city is mostly built, it's harder to be flexible, and that's when I think I noticed the luck the most. It's okay, let's say you had a farm and a wife, and you need that husband.
Yeah.
And that doesn't come out now you're locked into you were planning on getting that and never came. That's when I think it's at its most annoying.
And that's what can happen in this game is it's almost like if that does happen, it feels like every turn you're choosing you're trying to choose the best of two bad moves, two options, a few bad options. You're like, oh, I don't know what to do. I could do this, but I only, so it can definitely affect your experience playing the game. If you're struggling with it like that, it can become frustrating. I mean,
it's okay, Graham. Everybody plays the fool sometimes.
And this is honestly like.
Look at this skunk with a jet.
I think this is about as bad as the luck gets in the game. And this is actually.
If I knew you were doing so poorly, I wouldn't have given it to you. I thought you were doing well.
So the full card I actually think is the worst part about the game. It seems like it's such a small part, and it shouldn't be that, have that much effect on the game.
It doesn't.
But this has way too much effect on the game, and it's way too powerful, and it's pointless.
There are so many things.
Hold on. Hold on. Okay.
Let him go.
So, first of all, it's -2 to whoever you play. Okay, fine, -2. That hurts, but you can overcome it. It takes away a spot from you. That in itself is also another 1 to 3 points right there. So already you're looking at least 3 to 5 points you're losing from the full card.
Maybe.
And there is no consequence to the person who plays it.
Well,
because in this game, you're not limited to turns. Your card, as long as you have the resources, you can play them.
Consequence, I would argue, is that unless you're at the fairgrounds, you pay 3 berries to play it. And you have to use one of your own turns to,
Yeah, but like I said, in this game, it's one of those things where turns actually aren't that important in this game because you can do so much.
Yeah, it's true, but also, it could be the difference between you getting something on the board that you want and someone else getting it.
Yeah, but it's pretty minor for how much effect that this can have.
Okay.
And not just that, it really feels like it feels like a pointless card.
Here's what I will say.
It doesn't seem necessary.
I will give you one thing I agree with and one thing I disagree with. I'll start with what I disagree with. I think they're in the hands of a less skilled player, as it is now. I don't think the Fool is necessarily that big of a deal. I think there are enough cards in the deck that give you options to deal with it. Either destroying a target creature, or rather putting it in jail, or there's the one where you can
There's the dungeon you can slide.
You can slide into dungeon. I think there might be one where you can get rid of one in exchange for the resources.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So if it's played early enough, or if it's played in the wrong city, a Fool's not an issue. It actually can even help you and get you stuff.
That right there is the issue, is that you don't have to play it. You could just hold on to it because
yes.
At most, the biggest consequence is that it's a card in your hand and it takes up a spot in your hand, which
that's not nothing.
I know, but it's easy to manage.
I was going to agree with you in one way, and I will do that. It is unique in the game at the very least. One thing I actually like about the game is that there's while there is actually a good amount of player interaction, it's not like I'm going to hurt your city for the most part. There's no way to destroy players' buildings or capture their critters and put them in your own city. There's nothing like that where you're actively messing with your opponent's city. This is the exception. It's the one example where you can actually negatively affect one of your opponents directly.
Yeah.
And I can certainly see why that might be an issue.
I just don't think it needs to exist.
It doesn't need to
I think
exist.
you can negatively.
It doesn't bother me if it doesn't exist.
If you had let's say there was a card that says you just put any card in your opponent's city. That would be just as negative because you could just choose something they absolutely don't need. This doesn't need to be in the game.
They need a skunk.
Why couldn't it be a wanderer?
Wanderer.
It is in it's in their hand. They lose the points, but it's not in their city. Now I get that's kind of why they made the Fool the way it is, so it takes up one of those crucial 15 spots. But there are ways. I think because it's the only way you can mess with your opponent, it feels arbitrary. They just threw it in. If there were other ways, I think I'd be less annoyed by it. But since it's the only way, and like Graham said, it's such a small thing. So why even include it?
Let's move on, shall we?
Sure.
So I did mention player interaction in that little bit there. I think it's actually surprisingly good for a game of its type. Considering that there is no active messing with your player outside of the Fool card, I think you actually do engage with each other a good amount.
Yeah. It's got that worker placement element where you can go to a location and now they can't go there. It also there are plenty of cards that are draw 2 cards, keep 1, pass 1 to an opponent. Mm-hmm. There's the monk and monastery involve giving your opponents resources for points.
Yep.
Which can be a viable strategy to help supplement your victory. So yeah.
Yeah, you have other cards where you can use your other player, an opponent's cards by looking. You can copy one of their effects. So there's a good amount of interaction.
Yeah. So if you're worried about this being one of those Euros where you're just kind of each playing your own game, that's not strictly the case here. It's actually pretty good in that respect. The game looks really nice.
It is up there, maybe in my opinion, with the most beautiful games that we've played.
I wouldn't argue too strongly.
Yeah, no, it's fair.
It's like almost everything is like, okay, that's really well done.
It looks,
the cards, I mean, I think are the best part.
The art on the cards are probably the best. It's probably the best artwork I've seen on cards.
They really create a world.
Yeah, you feel like you're in that. What's the
Redwall?
Redwall. That's it.
Yeah, it does feel like
Narnia, maybe.
Yeah,
It's
super charming. It's
very cute.
Or just a zoo.
But it's a really weird zoo.
Yeah.
Really twee zoo. I don't want. It's in Portland probably. I don't want to go there.
The tiny things like that in these kind of games can actually, because board games is kind of hard to really feel immersed into the world.
It can be. Usually.
Yeah, it is. And I get it. It's tough to do that. But this game, you actually kind of get immersed into the world.
Yeah,
you feel like you're living in
really
Everdell.
Sense that, I'm going to give the credit to James A. Wilson who designed the game. I'm assuming he's responsible for the lore and everything. But they really don't spare any expense to that. It's not necessary to sort of like make a world, but there's like a song.
Yeah, the first page has like a little setup, a few paragraphs, and the Everdell song.
And then if you go to the back, there's like a calendar, and then there's like another story about.
Yes.
Yeah. So like
there's a tale back here.
There's like a lot of like a little bit of like lore just thrown into the rule book and you get a bit of that too just from the cards. And it's not just the cards. I mean these components are pretty cool to look at least.
Yeah. Like the berries are actually rubber. They're not like they don't feel.
They all try to look like the thing they're recreating.
Yeah.
Like the resin kind of looks like resin, and pebbles look a lot like pebbles, and the wood looks more or less like wood. The tree, which Graham has delightfully assembled for us.
Here's the tree for you guys.
He tried really
It's a
hard.
little awkward.
So it's not right.
No, it's not. It's not perfect. It was. Now Will ruined it.
Those are the fangs.
So that's not how it gets set up, obviously. If you see the video, you'll see how it's actually set up. But
I don't want to put it together correctly.
it's not difficult. But yeah, I mean, it's striking, at least. It's
nice. It comes with the little area you put the cards in.
Yeah.
And
I mean, now, the components aren't perfect. As you saw in our video, if you watched that, we had to get out the bowls from Century Spice Road to sort of corral the components because the berries and the twigs in particular have a tendency to roll around on the hard board, which is a bit frustrating.
And by tendency, he means they're perpetually in motion. The tree's awkward too.
The tree is a little awkward, yeah. I mean, I like how the cards slot very evenly into like the trunk space, but actually like dealing with them and like having the quests and stuff.
Some of the bonus tokens are, I guess, shielded by the tree. If you're sitting on to certain sides of it, things like that aren't. It's already a flat board.
It's not a game you should be playing around a round table. Let's say you should always be on one side of this map, pretty much. Yeah,
it's worth it for the novelty of the tree.
Maybe a bit of form over function, but it looks nice. One thing I do want to say, Graham, you invoked Redwall.
Yeah,
I invoked Narnia. I think this is a game that's going to look extremely appealing to younger children. I don't think they're going to enjoy it, though. Yeah. So if they're like, oh, give me the game of the little animals, I mean, don't. If they're like under like 12, maybe. Yeah. Like this game it's slow. It requires a lot of thought. If your kid's really patient, this might be okay. But otherwise,
if you're younger than like 35, probably avoid this game.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I do have a minor concern about the game's replayability. While there are certainly many different strategies you can take, I do worry a little bit that the game will play somewhat similarly each time. I haven't played it enough yet to know if that's true. I haven't gotten burned out on it yet, but I could see it being an issue.
Yeah,
it might be a little bit too static in terms of.
Yeah, even in the few playthroughs that we had, we saw very similar strategies.
But this game also seems ripe for expansions, perhaps sequels that should keep things fresh. I mean, there's already an expansion planned for later this year, which adds a bit to the map, and there's like an aquatic section, and then there's like new components and stuff. So I imagine, something we'll be keeping an eye on. So, scores!
I don't think there's anything I need to add, except for, we didn't talk about the Fool card.
Yeah, let's talk about the Fool card for 20 minutes here.
No. If that's the worst thing about this
we
game.
can talk about these. The forest cards, I think, are really cool.
Oh, yes.
I like the variety they add to the game. It is one thing that will add replayability. There's a decent variety of extra spaces you can go to. The special events are they're cool, but they are actually pretty tough to get.
Yeah.
I've noticed.
I would have made them maybe a little cheaper.
They're very
I didn't focus on them too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kept looking at them and I was like, I just don't have it.
Yeah.
Okay, scoring. I'll be honest. I really, really love this game. I thought it was extremely fun. I was considering giving it the 5 stars, which I haven't done many times in our Board Crazy review history of almost 2 years now. I'm gonna go with 4.5 though. The difference for me between a 4.5 and a 5 is, am I always down to play it? If I am, then it gets the 5. I'm not sure on this one yet, so I'm gonna go with 4.5 for now. That may change.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I think the foundation of the game, which is the cards and the puzzle that you get to by working with the cards together and trying to make them work together is really solid. So that kind of trumps the other cons, but I'm going to give it a 1 thumb up.
1 thumb up,
Yep.
okay.
I think that's fair.
I should point out, I'm going to probably eventually stop doing this, that our scores are pretty arbitrary. There's no like system that we use.
Crunch the numbers, Will.
We don't crunch any numbers to figure out what they are, so please listen to our words over the scores that we give the game. My score, I think I'd go... Yeah, I think because the components are so good, it's going to bump it up from a B+ to an A-.
Ooh,
I'm going to go with an A-.
Very, very good.
Very good rating.
It's another review down. Thank you for watching. If you are a fan of this video, please give us a like. Please subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet. Comment. Let us know what your thoughts are on either Everdell or our video. If you have any recommendations for our review videos, in terms of like the format, any changes you want to see, let us know. And if you want to give it a share, that would be swell as well.
If you want to recommend us to share, that'd be cool.
Yeah, if you're like, hey, I know Cher.
Yeah.
She could promote you guys.
Yeah.
Cool.
Get that Mamma Mia audience.
That's when we've made it.
Yeah.
And social medias below. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram are all linked to in the description, as well as our gameplay video for Everdell. And that's it. Come back this Friday. We're going to be out in the wilderness of probably North America.
Do you have any idea what he's talking about?
I have no idea what he's talking about.
Doing some hunting.
Okay, great.
So, until then, goodbye.
I'm Graham. See ya.
Okay. And
I know my name, my letter.
We'll describe. I notarized this video as being okay. Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Fair.
See ya.